Hi, Al here at Koozai. I'm here today to talk to you about social signals. So first up, what is a social signal? I'd say it's any sort of attribution or mention or sort of any reference to your site or your business that you get from a social media platform. For example, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I mean, they're the three biggest, they're the three most obvious ones that people would go for. If you were setting up a social media campaign, you definitely want to be on them. But there's loads of others. There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's Vine. I mean, the list is pretty much endless. We'd be here all day. So I won't go into it in too much depth. But you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's niche social media as well that you can get into, and it really depends on what you're doing and what your goals are. But yeah, there's plenty to pick from. But these three I'm going to focus on for the minute. Now, those kinds of mentions and citations that you get, how do they impact? How do they even help your sort of online campaign, your SEO, for example? A lot of people would argue that Google doesn't know what a social signal is, that it can't pick out importance from social media. And I wrote a blog post on it a little while ago about how social signals are important even if they don't exist. I mean, let's just go into one example here. Google Plus is Google's own property. So they know in that sense. They know exactly what's going on. They know when things get +1. They know when things get shared. They know mentions, this, that, and the other. And they can see first-hand popularity. I mean, it's not the same kind of audience that you get on other sort of more general social profiles, like the bigger ones, the most well-known, like Facebook and Twitter. It's not the same kind of thing. But they've got data they know. So that has to have some kind of effect. It has to have some kind of... It's providing them with data at least. Twitter, again, I mean, you sometimes get Twitter results in search, so there's a connection there. And it's just, you know, APIs can see what's going on through Twitter. So again, there has to be a way of gleaning some information from that. And Google's working hard on sort of using Twitter in real time as a source of data. So again, there's some kind of, there's a potential connection there. No one's going to confirm it, but there's a potential connection there. And even still, it wouldn't matter either way, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Facebook. I had a conversation with someone recently saying that Facebook and Google, they don't communicate, and it's impossible to know how Facebook popularity translates to search engine popularity and visibility. I'd argue differently in that, and probably for all social platforms as well. In Google Analytics, you can see who the referrer is. If you've got a ton of referrals from Facebook, it means that, hey, hang on a minute, you're popular on this platform. It's a popular page, it's a popular business, it's something that people are talking about. So there's got to be a connection there again. I mean, Google can see, and they're going to know, and they're going to, either way, give some sort of reference to that in search results. But even if they don't exist, it doesn't matter, I wouldn't say. Because if you're not getting referrals, if you're not getting improved SEO, if you're not getting more visibility in a search engine here, there, or anywhere, what you are getting is, you know, real visibility on a platform that you are sharing on, that is popular, that you're active on. And if you weren't doing that, you wouldn't have any of it. And I think that's more important to remember than, you know, the search for rankings there. If you're primarily doing it only for SEO benefit, it's probably not going to work. You have to do it, you know, for your business. It has to be your voice. It has to be a place that you go to share. And I think that's much more important. And even if there's no such thing as social signals, I still think everyone can do it. Even if you think your industry is boring or your business isn't particularly interesting. For example, will it blend? Blenders aren't particularly interesting products. I've never been fascinated with blenders myself, but they managed to turn it around. They took something that is completely uninteresting and they made something fun out of it, and they made the most amazing series. Where else are you going to go and see an iPhone get blended up? There you go. So they use their YouTube and their social channels really well to make something that isn't particularly interesting really fun and get people who weren't interested in blenders in the first place involved. And that's the kind of power that social has. And it doesn't matter about how it affects your visibility in rankings, because that visibility on its own is worth far more. Yeah, so that's the importance of social and why it doesn't even matter if there are social signals, but also how these things are all connected. Thank you very much for listening and watching. If you want to find out more about SEO and social, just follow Koozai on our various social platforms.